Hello, hi everyone. My name is Masejo Kreki, or I should say Masejo Hopani Kreki. um, this is all new for me, so I'm just gonna give this a shot. Just want to share a quick testimony of God's love and God's grace in my life. There's just so much to share, but at this very moment, I want to share about God's faithfulness. One thing that has been constant in my life ever since I was a little girl was just seeing God be steadfast in his love for me. Throughout my childhood and my teenage years and young adulthood and even into adulthood, I have just experienced the love of God. And most recently, God has just revealed more of his love for me and for his people. It's incredible. It's so incredible. I cannot even put words sometimes. It's just hard to describe the fullness of God's love that I've experienced, that I've encountered in the past few weeks. Without getting into any detail that I should not get into. The past year has been the most incredible, yet challenging, yet rewarding time of my life. Most of you don't know this, but I'm going through a divorce, and I felt like I needed to share this while I'm going through it, so that some people who are going through similar, if not worse, situation, that they will be encouraged, that it's not after the end of the battle. I want to share my testimony while I'm going through what I'm going through. And it has been the most incredible time of my life. I don't even know how else to describe God's love. And I'm praying that with this testimony you will get a little bit of a glimpse, and maybe this will give some of you hope and faith. First, God has delivered me from one of the worst enemies a person could ever have, and that is fear. From my childhood, I've had things that happened to me when I was a child. Even growing up, I did not realize how trauma can cause such deep-rooted fear in a child's life. But literally about a month ago, I went on a vacation. I took a retreat, a 2-day retreat, and at that time I was just feeling burnt out. I was just feeling a little bit worn out from the kind of job that I'm working. I work with social workers. We do ministry, and some of you will understand how intense that can be, and how it can get burnt out if you don't take care of yourself. But I took the time specifically just to recuperate, just to rest. But I went to this cabin that friends of mine were so generous and kind to have me stay there for 2 nights, with the intention of really seeking God's rest. But above all, I told God, I said, Lord, I'm gonna come I'm going there with this expectation that I will not leave the place the same. Just having faith like a child, just expecting something to happen. And I went there, and it was the most unusual, in a sense, the most simple yet profound experience. Some of us, we think encounters with God have to be this spectacular fireworks, slaying the spirit and all this, but no. On the contrary, he showed up in the most amazing, gentle, simple ways I've ever experienced him. I've had 2 other encounters with God that were unforgettable. I've not shared this with many people, and I'm not going to do that right now, but and those encounters were memorable, and that's why I can't even recount them right now. But this, at the cabin, the most gentle way, God spoke to me in the most amazing way. There were no distractions. My cell phone was not, the reception was not that good, which was very, very helpful. I sat there on the couch, and I said, Father, here I am. Here I am. And I heard him as loud, yet gentle and clear as I've ever heard God's voice. And he walked me through a lot of things. He showed me my heart. He showed me my heart like a garden. And I was walking with him in this garden, and he showed me on the right side that I had fruit. There were trees that were green, that were growing, they were producing some fruit. And he said he enjoys this part of the garden, and he delights in it. And so we were walking, and then he says, but I want you, my beloved, to look on the left. Look on the left side. And I looked, and I was in total shock. I said, Father, what is this? This is my heart? He said, yes, look. And it was scary. If you know dark, it was dark, first and foremost. Trees that were dark and no branches, like dead, ashy, if I may call it, like there was no ground, there was no soil. It was ashy, and very cold, very cold. The best way I can explain this, the description is, in the movie The Beauty and the Beast, when, what's her name, when she comes in and she rides a horse and she gets into a different atmosphere. It was, she enters into a different dimension. That's how I could explain it. It was so dark. And I said, God, what do you mean? This is my heart. He says, yes. He said, you see what fear does. He says, you've lived, this is part of your heart, and I want to dwell, I want to inhibit all of this. I want all of your heart, my child. I want all of your heart. And I said, God, what do you mean? And he walked me through it, and he said, well, my love cannot dwell where fear is. He says, I want you to give me this part of your heart. And I said, oh, okay, God, how do I do that? And he walked me through it, and I began uprooting those dead trees, and like from the roots, I started uprooting them and naming them. All trees, all of these trees had names. The biggest one I remember was like, oh, you fear of man. Fear of man, I'm gonna uproot you. And I mentioned, and I threw it in a volcano. I said, you will not come back again. I threw it in the burn. All of them, one by one. Fear of rejection, fear of disapproval, fear of what people think of me. Again, it's fear of men. Just shame and fear of regret and failure. All those things, I just uprooted them one by one, and some I threw out in the bottomless pits, and some I threw in like the sea, and amazingly, my mom, and I was telling her about this testimony, and she actually led me to, she said, Nana, that's actually very scriptural. So I'm going to pull it up here in the Bible. And anyway, so as I was doing that, I said, wow, God, so I've been living in fear all along? And he says, yeah. Why do you think when you wake up, you have this just anxiety? And I would worry about people. People don't know this about me, but I seem like to be an outgoing. It took me a long time for me to be, you know, to have people skills and to be approachable. I mean, it's part of my personality, and I think it's part of also just growing up with a mom who just loved people. So, but there were times I'd just be talking to somebody and I just want to run away. In my heart, I'd feel so nervous, so anxiety would just grip me. I don't know how many opportunities I've missed. I don't know how many opportunities to bless other people, opportunities to be blessed, opportunities to grow, things that held me back, that because of fear, my friends, fear is your worst enemy. I don't wish it on anybody. Anyway, so going back to, as I was sharing with my mom, and she said, well, this is exactly how, Jeremiah, God told Jeremiah, Jeremiah 1, when he called him, he says, look, I have put my words in your mouth. Today I appoint you to stand up against nations and kingdoms. Some you must uproot and tear down, destroy and overthrow. Others you must build up and plant. So, and so God was like, just uproot. And uprooted all those fears. And we came back and I saw so many holes. He says, well, we got to fill up these holes. And I started filling them up with God's love. I said, okay, God, just your love here and some, righteousness or the fruits of the Spirit. And I said, peace and rest and the love of God. And I think above all, I said, Lord, I want love to dwell. I want love to dwell here. And immediately, it didn't take long. As I was planting, these shoots were coming up, growing up. And then all of a sudden, these trees and lots of fruit in them. I'm like, what? And God Father said, yes, that's my love. Where my love abides, my daughter. Where my love abides, where my love is received and where my love dwells, the fruit, it's such a beautiful environment. It's such a beautiful, fertile soil. That's why we cannot do anything without love. We have to, we cannot minister. I don't care how many people can, if we don't have love, and that's why it's one of the first and second commandments, the most important commandments. Love the Lord your God with all your heart. And then love yourself as you love thy neighbor. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Anyway, so I saw this. I said, Father, wow, really? He says, yes.